this going.
Recording.
Sweet. Stacy, you love the DR. Yeah, me too. Dominican Republic is beautiful. So let's talk about no more procrastination. Okay. The reason why I decided to put this on is because I have been supporting people for over the last 8 years now on conquering their procrastination patterns. A lot of people think that procrastination is laziness. As a matter of fact, I polled my audience and there was probably about, I think, 60 to 70% of people thought that it was just, you're lazy, right? And I'm sure we've all had that experience. Somebody's probably called us lazy or we've felt lazy before, and we can't quite put our finger on it. It's like, I don't know, maybe I feel unmotivated. Maybe I've lost interest. Maybe I'm just overwhelmed and stressed. There can be many reasons why we procrastinate. And, I hate when people say things like someone has ADHD, right? I've been told that I have ADHD. And there are a number of other things that people are told that they are. Oh, you're bipolar, or, you know, you're just somebody that is more introverted than another person. And sometimes these ways to explain things may have a truth to it, but ultimately we procrastinate because of our trauma, because of our wounds. We procrastinate because of the stories we tell ourselves. We procrastinate because of a fear of repeating the past. We procrastinate because of a perceived pain of the future. There's many different reasons why we procrastinate, and not one of us is exactly the same as the other. So I did my best to categorize the 6 different types of people or personality types when it comes to procrastination. Procrastination is a coping mechanism, right? And if you want to look at it like this, because I like analogies, procrastination is sort of like a shield that like pops up in your mind, in your psyche, to prevent you from experiencing some form of pain. And it doesn't just do this out of nowhere. It does this because of a story you're telling yourself, and it's coming from a core wound or multiple core wounds. And so procrastination is a coping mechanism so that we don't feel pain. Okay. And most of the time, honestly, it's not even true. We just lie to ourselves. Procrastination is sort of like a glitch in the psyche. It's not meant to be there. A lot of people will procrastinate because they have this perceived pain of the future, but the truth is like 99% of the time that pain's not actually going to happen unless there's a real reason for it, right? If it's extremely dangerous, it's going to threaten your life, then of course it's normal for you to have that shield go up to protect you. But in the world that we live in today, we're pretty safe compared to what it would have been like if we were on the battlefields, thousands of years ago. There'd be a good reason for somebody to procrastinate and not want to go out into a war or whatever it may be. For us, I'm assuming that most of us here in the Western world, we are quite relatively safe. We have a lot of comforts in our life, and we have a lot of ways of avoiding things. We also have a lot of pleasure that pulls us. We have a lot of temptations and distractions. We have access to social media. You guys are on Zoom right now. You probably saw me on Instagram, or maybe you came through an email list, or wherever you came from through technology to be able to be here. And so we are creating a lot of the time an illusion. And the truth is that the more connected we are in the world through social media, through the tech that we have out there, and through any sort of news and media that we see, and whichever way you're influenced to follow someone or connect with someone, we also are under a grand delusion and illusion that's in place in society. And some people will call it the matrix, some people call it the labyrinth, like a maze that we're in. I liken it to a rigged reality. We definitely have opportunity to be able to move the chess pieces on the board to be able to better live our life in the way that we desire, to create freedom and all these other amazing things. But the truth is that if you are bouncing around like a pinball in a pinball machine, procrastinating, letting fear rule your life, living by these stories that are lies, then you're not going to achieve the outcomes that you really want in your life. People often tell me, Joe, I want a 6-figure business, or I want a 7-figure business, or I want to travel the world, or I want to buy a beautiful house somewhere. And the truth is, I believe them. I believe that that's what they consciously want. But on a subconscious level, there are patterns that are formed in their mind, which is the coping mechanisms, the avoidance strategies, and so on, when procrastination shows up, that gets them to deflect. So my goal with this masterclass today is to really just shed light on the areas in your life that may be distorted, where the illusions are at play, and how you can better show up in this. And then I'm also at the end offering you a way to be able to live out an incredible game plan in your life, so that you can be able to come out of this matrix type system. So you can come out of this rigged reality that we live in. And I can say this with confidence because I've supported tens of thousands of people around the world to be able to do just that, whether it's with their finances, their wealth, with their business, whether it's with their mindset and their patterns, whether it's with their emotional management, emotional fitness, whether it's their fitness itself to be physically fit and healthy. All of these areas of life, they are affected by the stories that we tell ourselves. They're affected by the patterns that are in play in our subconscious. Okay, so I'm going to offer you an opportunity to continue on with us in an incredible academy that I've developed called AweBliss Academy, which is going to teach you how to be able to have freedom in all areas of life, where it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial as well. Okay, so stay with me, and I want to also open up the floor for Q&A at the end of this call as well, so that you can get your questions answered. And if you have any questions throughout, you can drop it here in the chat and I can always go back to it. So we have, like I said, 6 different procrastination types. Now, the first type is the obsessive idealist. Who here had the obsessive idealist? I'd love to see. Just drop it in the chat. Who here is the obsessive idealist? Drop it in. Okay, and as you're dropping it in there, I'm going to read out the next one. The next one is the dreadhead. Okay, the dreadhead. So drop it in. If you're the dreadhead, say, I'm the dreadhead. If you are the angry altruist, drop that in there. I want to see who is the angry altruist right now. The next one is the diversion junkie. Okay, who is the diversion junkie? Drop that in. The 5th one here is the stargazer. Who is a stargazer? Okay, there we go. The shiny objects. Yes, you got it, everyone. Love that. Awesome. Thanks for dropping that in. And then the last one is the radical defiant. So just drop it in the chat. Would love to see which one you are. Let's get a breakdown here of what we have in the group. And when you did the quiz, you would have seen there was a breakdown on the page. So it's good for you to go through and read that whole page and see what's going on. As you can tell, it affects many different areas of your life. So I originally was an obsessive idealist. I went on this journey of trying to work out my own patterns. I had many mentors and coaches, and I was able to get to more of the core of what was going on within me that was affecting and producing these obsessive idealist-like symptoms in my life. So the negative consequences that come from these patterns, we call them symptoms. And then the cause is, what is the story you're telling yourself? What are the wounds? What are the traumas? What are the coping mechanisms that you utilize? And if we can get to the core, we can heal the rest. Okay. Now, the truth is that nobody is 100% healed from their procrastination pattern. Okay. And you probably don't want to be 100% healed, because there are positive elements about your procrastination type too. So for example, the obsessive idealist is a high achiever, right? They have high standards. They work quite hard. They are very disciplined with their mindset. They tend to be quite focused when they get going. But on the flip side of that, there's like a plethora of things. Like the obsessive idealist burns themselves out mentally and emotionally and physically quite often. They don't know how to have an off switch. A lot of the time, it can end up in adrenal fatigue or stress, or it could end up in just feeling defeated in the morning, trying to get out of bed because you've just emptied your tank. The other thing is that they tend to compare themselves a lot to others. They tend to beat themselves up when they don't achieve in the way that they want to achieve. They end up having this sort of all or nothing mentality, right? And this means they miss out on great opportunities because they are trying to get everything perfect. And usually obsessive idealists, and this is like most people do things like this too, but the obsessive idealist does this a lot. They almost like block themselves from trying things where they could develop new skill sets because they're only trying to do what they're really good at. Okay, so they block themselves out from investment opportunities. They block themselves out from great business opportunities. They block themselves out from being able to be imperfect and just be human in romantic relationships. They're always trying to fix it and trying to be right and overdo it. And this ends up affecting their romantic life a lot as well. We have a number of other types. We have the dreadhead. Dreadhead is afraid of stepping out of the comfort zone quite often. The dreadhead tends to feel overwhelmed a lot by the emotions that they're feeling. The dreadhead also tends to find that they will start crafting a vision or have some ideas, but then very quickly it feels like it's too much. And a lot of the time when I work with dreadheads, they need to break down their goals. They need to really chunk it down, because if they have too much happening at once, they feel like they're going to snap. And they sort of turtle back in, right, in order to protect themselves and save themselves. So this becomes a huge avoidance strategy, and it means that you're not performing at your best. A lot of dreadheads that I work with, I notice they're performing at maybe 20% at most when it comes to their achievement, which is wild. Like if you were to think about what you could achieve if you were playing at a higher level and you were able to move through those patterns and manage them better, because that's what it's about, is managing those patterns, not necessarily completely removing them, because that's not possible to completely remove them, but managing them better means that you're not affected as much as you would be, which means you're going to play at 60%, 70, 80% or more, right? And I know this to be true because I've done this with thousands of people over the last 8 years. And I've seen massive, massive results come through for each person in different areas of their life because they've been able to repattern their procrastination patterns. And there's a process to that. It's about repatterning over a 31-day period. It's about having accountability. It's about having a mentor to guide you along the way, right? Now, little side note here, because I know at the start we talked a little bit about, you know, the rigged reality and the illusions that are in play. I truly believe that the trauma that you experience, or the wounds, or the stories that you've told yourself from childhood, or whatever it might have been, they weren't your fault initially. Okay. So those things happen, and you did what you could as a child to try and cope at that point in time. What I do believe is your responsibility is how you manage them now. Okay. So if you're not taking responsibility and you're not repatterning, and you're not setting up structures in your life, and you're not getting game plans together, and you're not having people in your corner, and you don't have a mentor that can guide you along the way, and you don't learn from people that are more successful than you, then you being broke, you feeling frustrated, you being unproductive is your fault. Okay. And that's a very hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, especially when they're like, hey, yeah, but this happened and that happened. Hey, I've had some incredibly crazy things happen in my life. Recently, I lost my daughter. She passed away before my wife could deliver her. I've gone through a divorce when I was younger, when I was 27 years old, right? I've lost one of my really good friends. He was killed in a motorbike accident, right? I've lost all of my grandparents, right? I've gone bankrupt and I've made my money back. I've been bullied throughout my high school life and overcame all of that, right? I've gone through things too. You know, I've had addictions with drugs when I was younger. I had addictions to all the status and the fame and everything, you know, so I understand what frustration feels like. I understand what it feels like to be broke and to lose out. And I take 100% responsibility, even for the toughest things, to have to claim that, like, hey, that happened and that sucks. But the truth is that every single decision that you make throughout your life, second by second by second, that's on you. You position yourself in that place at that very point in time. Every second of every day, you could have made a better financial investment. Every second of every day, you could have decided to leave that relationship that you were struggling in. Every second of every day, you could have decided to have the courage to step in and say yes to something that could have changed the whole trajectory of your life. And if anybody here is not willing to take responsibility for everything that's happening or has happened up until now, your life isn't going to change that much. Right? I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I used to do it when I was younger, when I started out coaching, sugarcoat this and that. I don't do that anymore. Okay. I believe that we have the potential to step in with our will, with our structure, with our connections and our networks. We have the opportunity each and every day to do something different, to get a different result. And we live in a world right now where, yes, in the Western world, there's some cushiness and comfortability, but it's not going to be like that for a long time. Because we have a lot of things happening in government. We have a lot of things happening with the division that's in play right now. We have a lot of things, a lot of confusion going on within the business world. We have algorithms changing on social media and everything as well. And a lot of people's livelihood is threatened in this process. A lot of people are going to struggle financially. Economically, we're going to be shaken. Again, not sugarcoating this, right? And so if you don't stand up and actually start doing things differently, it's going to be a year from now, 2 years, 3 years from now, you're going to turn around and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that all this pressure's on now, or this thing has changed in government, in business world, in tech. My freedoms have been taken. We've had test runs, guys. I don't know if you've been living under a rock, but for the last 4 years, it's been crazy. And they're not stopping. Right? This is literally the matrix. Like, it's, if you want to call it that, we call it a template on society. You want to transcend the template. It's a rigged reality. It's an algorithm that's in play. You want to awaken from that and come out of that algorithm. Truth is, you can do it, but you need a blueprint. You need people that you can learn from that are successful, that have been able to achieve success in different fields of life, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financially, relationship, whatever it may be that you're looking at leveling up in. You got to learn from people that have been able to achieve success. Otherwise, you're bouncing around like a pinball in a pinball machine for the rest of your life. And you become like a feather floating through the wind with no option, nowhere to go, but wherever the wind blows you. And I say this because I know what it's like to struggle. I've worked with thousands of clients around the world, and I've seen people that have lived in poverty, going to third world countries. You don't want to be living in tough times, right? I've seen interest rates go up, inflation go up. I see the manipulation that's happening in the news and the media and social media. Like, now is go time, right? The reason why I had so much freedom before all the COVID craziness kicked off, and I moved wherever I wanted to live. I traveled. Everyone in Australia when I was there told me, you won't be able to leave. I left. I jumped on a plane. It cost me like $4.5 grand to jump on a plane, which would usually cost like $300. And I flew to Bali because I was like, my rental is there and my dog is there and I'm getting back to Bali. And everyone around me said, you won't be able to do it. And I moved chess pieces and I negotiated and I reached out to immigration and the consulate and I hustled. But I made it happen because I understand that you got to be able to negotiate your success. You got to be able to move chess pieces around to create freedom in your life. And it's not just what's happening in the physical, it's what happens up here too. And I had all these people messaging me, Joe, how the hell did you leave Australia in the middle of lockdowns? How did you get out? How did you do it? Flights are grounded. And I'm like, because I'm not going to be a victim to the matrix, right? When you learn to move the chess pieces up here, you get to move the chess pieces in your life too, to live the life that you desire. You want that with God too, like spiritually being grounded, having structure with God and knowing how you can really step in with him. If you want to look at the spiritual element of life, with your finances, learning the skill set. That's what we're doing with AweBliss, with this academy that I mentioned before. We're having different avenues and ways that you can create passive income, learning how to be able to start doing this online, knowing how to invest your money, knowing how to maximize on it. Because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. This is the truth, right? So we had the obsessive idealist was the first procrastination type. The second one is the dreadhead. Okay. The third one is the diversion junkie. Now, the diversion junkie, what they do is they tend to chase entertaining distractions in high pressure times. They get distracted with the emotional pull of things. If something is more of a pleasure-based thing, they'll go there and be pulled by that instead of doing the thing that feels uncomfortable. Remember before I said procrastination is perceived pain of the future or a fear of repeating the past. The dreadheads tend to live in a fear of repeating the past. Like, what if this happens? What if this goes wrong? The diversion junkie tends to think perceived pain of the future. Oh, that feels scary and big and hot. So they'll go on Netflix and chill. They'll go to the alcohol. They'll go to gamble. They'll sit on social media until the cows come home, whenever that is. I don't know where that saying came from. But they do these things to distract themselves often. They also miss out on social opportunities because they don't want to be criticized in social environments. They're scared to not fit in, right? So there's a number of different reasons why we do this. And you could see that on the page when you get your results with the procrastination quiz. But there's more to it than that. And you know, I'm just sort of on the surface sharing with you what this is all about. But you want to be able to conquer it, right? And the fourth type is the stargazer. Now, the stargazer, the beautiful thing about the stargazer, just like every type has their beautiful thing. By the way, the diversion junkie tends to actually be like the life of the party. They have these great extroverted elements of themselves, but they play small in it because of their fear of comparison or rejection. But the stargazer tends to have this awesome skill set of creating. They are able to grab ideas and really like turn it into a great vision for their life. But ultimately, they lack structure. They lack a solid game plan in order to execute. Okay. So that's the stargazer there. And then we have the fifth type, which is the angry altruist. Now, the angry altruist essentially is the people pleaser, right? They give and give and give so much, hoping that there's some sort of even return back, but it never usually happens unless there's another people pleaser. And to be honest, a lot of angry altruists don't actually interact and have like really deep connection with other angry altruists because it doesn't give them as much meaning to feel like somebody is wanting to take from them all the time. Angry altruists and angry altruists find it hard to like give to each other because one wants to be the giver all the time and no one wants to be the taker, right? And usually angry altruists will tend to attract in relationship people that take. We have some angry altruists here, like nodding, like, yep, I get that. Yep. And this builds what we call resentment. Okay. And the truth is that you're betraying yourself. You're constantly giving away so much. And altruism is good. It's good for us to share and give, but you have a sort of overcompensation of it that's created for this need to be liked and need to be validated. And so giving and giving and giving ends up building this expectation that you're going to get something similar back. And then when you don't, you become resentful. But the truth is, you're not resentful towards that person. Secretly, you resent yourself for giving away so much. And I know this because I coach so many people. When I find that they are an angry altruist and they've gone through a crazy relationship breakup or they've had like really intense breakdowns in a relationship, often I'll find out that they have been the one that's giving so much. And I'll ask them, like, you know, how do you feel about this person? They're like, I hate that person. They get really resentful towards the person. And I ask them as we go deeper, I'm like, do you hate that person or do you actually secretly hate yourself? And at the core, they're like, I hate myself. I can't believe I gave so much. I can't believe I gave so much away. They always say things like they feel like they lost themselves in that relationship. And you say narcissists. Yeah, narcissists tend to really love angry altruists, right? And we're got to be careful with the word narcissist. Some people just straight up are narcissistic. The other end of altruism is narcissism. Like if you look at the scale, right? So they always say opposites attract. I think what we do as humans, just from if you want to call it like an adaptive standpoint, is we tend to be in relationship with and attract people that are compensationary or complementary. And we do this, like you have like a man that's masculine and a woman that's very feminine. And usually it'll be that like the man may be like extroverted and the woman's introverted. This is just one example. Obviously, you can have it the other way around too. But the man's like extroverted, the woman's introverted. Now, this is a sort of survival thing where you're choosing that person because they're filling the spaces where you feel like you're not. It's sort of like what you've been repressing or that you just haven't felt like you've naturally formed in you. And so we choose that person for a higher chance of survival. Okay. And we become attracted to it because we feel like we don't have that. So it feels like it's adding to, and that's a great way to have a relationship, is to find ways to be with someone that's complementary. They don't have to be extremely complementary, but at least have some complementary elements to it so we can grow together. Right? If my wife is nurturing, she's creative, she's sweet, she's kind, she's attentive, she's analytical, right? And I can be a little bit more rigid, and I can be more of like the provider and structured and extroverted. She's more introverted, right? I'm sort of like, let's go, action. And she's like, wait, let's think about it. So you can find that sometimes you go into a relationship where it's complementary, but sometimes it can be too much of an extreme. And that's why we attract opposite ends sometimes. And this usually happens when we are unhealed. We tend to attract on the opposite end of the scale. And this is where we start to get really let down or very hurt, because it doesn't feel like partnership. It feels like using each other and expecting a lot from each other. And we both end up coming out with, back end of the deal. One person feels completely disconnected. The other person feels used, or the other person feels like that person didn't get me. And the other one feels like, why didn't this just work? See it all the time. So it is good for you to understand your procrastination type. The last one is the radical defiant. The radical defiant loves to do everything by themselves to the point where they just are not very versed in collaborating with other people. They become so rebellious towards like other people's ideas and other people's way of doing things. They can be at times, I coached a radical defiant. They're more rare, to be honest. And if you are one, it's all good. We all got our things. I did coach a radical defiant once, and she was just like constantly throw like the spanner in the mix. And one day I sat back and I asked her, I go, you like to be difficult, don't you? And she's like, oh, she's like, you got me. And I say, yeah. When you're being difficult, what happens? She's like, oh, we get to like talk more. And I said, yeah, you get attention, you get validation. And you also like to be difficult because it makes you feel like you're in control. So you get to create whatever you want, but it's at the expense of your relationships, right? So that's a huge spanner in the works for radical defiance. They miss out on having deep connections and relationships because they operate from that place. And they sort of like this, like, kill or be killed sort of mentality. Only the strong survive. And so they're very tough to be in relationship with. And they'll sort of justify it and say, like, there's nobody out there for me, and I'm like one of a kind, and I'm so rare, and all this. But truly, they're really grieving that they haven't been able to find a deep connection, and it sucks. It really sucks for someone that's in that space. So we all have ways that we cope. We all have these different mechanisms, but ultimately, what it's about is about repatterning and finding new ways to be able to create a new reality for yourself. Because what's happening in the world right now, like a lot of people are talking about the economy. I think Vong was saying before, recession, depression marker coming. Okay. And so here's the thing, right? Because like a lot of people always say to me, the economy. And I say, that's the economy, but there's also your economy, right? There's your economy of your mind. There's your economy of your business or your career. There's your economy of your skill set. My question is always like, screw the economy. What's your economy? Because there are a lot of people that will absolutely crush it during a downturn in the economy. And this is another reason why I built AweBliss, this academy that I'm inviting you into, so that you can learn how to craft your own economy and be able to skill up in this yourself. Otherwise, you are going to be victim to whatever the economy does, right? It's about really learning how to be able to learn from the best. We're bringing in incredible people that are going to be teaching around this. And you can pick and choose where you want to level up in, because life is like a video game. It seriously is. It's this one big crazy ass video game. And every now and then, to get to the next level, you've got to face off with something. And if you haven't learned from the best, you haven't skilled up, you haven't learned how to manage this better and manage your emotions, which is everything that we teach in AweBliss, you are going to be feeling like you're swimming against the tide in tough times. Okay. And like, I know I'm saying this right now, and some of you are like, yeah, I get it, Joel. Yeah, I get it. And you're like, yeah, I'll do that in like 6 months from now or a year from now. What happens if something happens in 2 months from now? Or like in a week? Like, who saw COVID coming? Who saw that? No one, really. Maybe some people that orchestrated a lot of it. It's a bioengineered virus. We know that. There's a lot of fishy stuff going on around whatever happened there. And there's been a lot of fishy stuff that have happened ever since then. We can't deny it. I'm not bringing politics into it because that's a circus in itself. But honestly, if you're being real, you never saw that coming, did you? I thrived during COVID. Absolutely killed it. Like 5x'd across the board. Right? Not just financially, but emotionally had massive breakthroughs. Mentally went to a whole new level. Friendship wise, audited my circle and got a really dope group of people together and networked out and just built something strong when it came to my financial economy, my friendship economy. And all of those stones were being laid before COVID came in. That's why I spoke so boldly when it was happening, because I had already established strong foundation. And I was on a huge trajectory in that time. Right. And the reason I'm sharing this with you all, because I don't want you to be silly enough to think I'll just keep putting all this off until 3 years from now. Yeah, let's see. 2 years from now, right? I say this with confidence. A lot of people are very arrogant. They're very egotistical, right? There's a difference between being cocky and confident, right? Confident is being grounded, having clarity, having focus, knowing how to manage this, the heart, and knowing that there's a purpose behind what you're doing, having the great intention of impact, and not just great intention, because you can have great intention, poor performance, but having great performance in the process too. How can I maximize the impact so I can positively affect those around me, but also how can I continue to build and grow and thrive in these times? And you all get to do that, right? Like, you look at my network of people that I'm around, like, we're thriving. And so I want to invite you into that. I want to invite you into how to manage this, but also how to manage this, and how to manage your business, and how to manage where you're going to live. What do you want your future to look like? Do you want your vision to actually turn into a reality? Do you want it to unfold? Or are you going to be a feather in the wind? And as soon as a little economic downturn takes place, or there's some little announcement that comes out, everyone freaks out that you have to cop it too. All right. So this is right now is about getting ahead of the curve. And again, I'm saying this, and some of you are like, yeah, I get it, Joe, I get it. But you're going to keep pushing it out for another year or two. And that sucks to be you. Because you need people in your corner, right? You need people you can grow with. And it doesn't matter what procrastination type you are. The moment you go back home, or you get off this call, and like whatever, in a day, a few days, or a week, or a couple months, you're going to find yourself alone going back into cycles again, the same way that you did, same patterns, where you got no one to lean on. You got no one in your corner. You got nothing. That's again why I created the AweBliss Academy. So we continue to grow together. So you can continue to have people in your corner. So you can continue to skill up. Because life isn't just made of one dimension. I know some very successful people that are doing 6 figures, 7 figures, but every other area of their life has taken a hit because they've put all their eggs in their business basket, and they've just occupied their mind trying to work all of the business thing out just by themselves. They don't have a network of people that they've grown with. They haven't learned from people that are more successful than them. They've just slaved away hard to try and make this 7 figures, and it's been their obsession. Great. But they've lived in a mindset that they have to sacrifice everything else. So their romantic relationships suck. They don't have friends they can trust, right? They don't have a spiritual connection with God. They're spiritually bankrupt. They are physically unfit. Any man that's on here, this is for a man, male, because we have different strength, right? I think men and women can be very complementary. I think we can be very powerful when we come together in this world. The men, in particular, when I coach men, I'd ask them, can you do 20 push-ups? Could you get down right now and do 20 push-ups straight? Because you look back in the 1960s, most men on average would be able to do more than 20 push-ups. Most men now can only do three or more, three or less. Like that's the average, three or less across the board right now in the world. Like, what a difference, guys. What a massive difference. And that's not to show off. That's to challenge. Are you at the strength you could be at? Right? That's just the physical. Mental, forget about it. You know how many distractions we have now that we never had before? We never had social media. I remember a time when I was in my Nokia 3210. I used to ride my chrome bike. I had my stunt pegs on the back, and my friend would jump on the back of the bike. He'd stand up on the stunt pegs, and I'd ride around the neighborhood to go see my friends. And I knew where all my friends were at because you'd ride past the houses in the neighborhood and you'd see wherever the collection of bikes were out the front. By the way, they were left out on the front. No one would steal them. This is in Australia. And we'd all go in and we'd hang out together. We'd go to take the soccer ball down to the park and kick that or the football. That was our lifestyle. And I had a Nokia 3210. And one of my friends said, everything's going to change. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, things are going to be so different. I was like, you don't get it. I was like 10 years old, or whatever it was, 11 years old. And he was right. Everything has changed because we were in that beautiful time when we didn't have those distractions. Now, social media can be a great vehicle, a great tool. I teach people how to be able to maximize on this, to build out their brands, how to be able to build online coaching businesses, how to be able to copyright, how to be able to do online sales. Right? I teach them everything online. And that is a beautiful thing, but ultimately it's only as good as you can manage it. You could do all those things, but do you have a great relationship with your partner? Or are you dating? Have you developed a relationship with anybody else, or have you denied yourself for that because of an experience you had and you've procrastinated since then because you're living in hurt, in sadness, in fear? Right? We deny ourselves to thrive in different categories of our life because of the past, fear of repeating the past. I don't want to make that same mistake. You know why? Because you don't trust yourself. So we've got to learn how to build trust again. How do I trust myself again? Well, there's tools for that. I teach that. That's in the academy. Learning how to build trust within yourself so you can make better decisions. Right? Most people are living in fear right now. They're living in stress and fear and overwhelm. So many of the decisions they make are dictated based off their mood, how they feel that day, not based off what they desire to actually create. Again, that's why I said, people tell me all the time their dreams and I believe them. But, there's a big but, do they actually have the discipline to make it happen? And discipline sounds like a real tough word. It's like, hey, that sounds like hard work. Yeah, but like not doing something and then running into huge trouble, that's hard work too. Right? Not setting yourself up to thrive and have an awesome network of people and to grow and learn from successful people and to skill up. You're going to run into a world of trouble when the economy takes a downturn. And I'm not here to have, fear porn shoved in anybody's face because there's already enough of that. But like, let's play this out. In the Netherlands, they're talking about a carbon tax. Does anybody here know what a carbon tax is? The governments of the world will use climate change, climate crisis. See how it's at? There's such negativity. Climate crisis, a climate emergency. They'll use these terms, and it's not to deny that things have changed in the climate. Of course they have, right? We do need to look after the planet, of course. But they'll use these things to tax people. They'll bring policies into play to tax people and to limit. Every time they bring a solution to a so-called problem, whether it's real or perceived or presented in propaganda, used as propaganda, they always take more of our freedom. They're in the game of taking freedom because we're easier to control, we're easier to manipulate, right? That's just how it's always been like that throughout empires of this world. Now, if I'm sitting in my procrastination pattern and I'm hearing like, oh, now they're going to start bringing a carbon tax in the US, in Australia, in the UK, in Canada, because they're going to start it in Canada pretty soon. Like you guys are if anybody here is from Canada, like you guys are literally months away from a pilot program of this, and it's getting pretty serious. But a carbon tax is this. What they do is they say, we're going to limit the carbon footprint. Interesting conversation to have, because the trees love carbon. Why are we not planting more trees? Trees like live on carbon. We are carbon. Like we breathe it out. Like it's coming from us. Like they want to reduce carbon. That's like reducing us, is what they're saying, right? And the way that God's created the world is His beautifully created nature, and that nature, it's called the law of reciprocity. We breathe out carbon, nature draws it in, utilizes it, brings it down to the roots of the earth, does the whole thing underneath us. There's all these crazy things happening with mushrooms and a whole ecosystem downstairs, and the carbon's all used for things down there, and then they breathe back oxygen and give that to us. God's created this world perfectly. But the governments of the world, and whoever you want to call them, the conglomerates, have decided we're going to start bringing out a carbon point system. And you're going to have a certain amount of points as a citizen, and it's going to cost you however many points if you want to hop on a plane and fly somewhere. Whatever that may be, who knows? $2,000, $4,000 extra on top of your trip if you want to take a flight to get 10 carbon points. Now, people that are in the world that are like, hey, I'm just like struggling to pay the bills, like my rent's getting me close to the line, and they will start to come into a place of like, I'm never going to be able to travel for the rest of my life. Or you sell off your carbon points to rich people so that you get a little bit more money because you need it, and rich people just continue to buy carbon points off everyone. The rich people go up here and live this luxurious life, and the poor people will never be able to have their freedoms. What it does, it cuts the middle class right out. So you have super rich and you have poor, right? The rich, they know that those rich people are going to be doing whatever they can to create freedom in their life anyway. And the poor people are going to be people that they can easily distinguish as that's a poor person, and they can manage and control them better, right? Now, I'm saying all this because I want you guys to sort of like think about what happens when you don't build freedom in your life, when you don't learn how to manage this, we don't learn to create your own economy, right? When you don't understand the lay of the land or how the chessboard works. The thing about chess, and I've got, if you have a look here, I've got a chess board here on the table, right? Just got it. Love it. And I'm just so excited to get better and better at it, right? The thing about chess is that if you lose in a game of chess, it's all on you. Like you can't turn around and say, oh, that person did this or that, unless the person cheated, right? But ultimately, if you lose, you have to admit that somewhere along the line, you made a mistake. I gotta be like, man, I did a false move. Like I did a really bad move right there. That's on me. I screwed up, right? And like most people in life, what they'll do is they'll wait till things get crazy, and then they'll go, okay, I need to do something. And then it feels 10 times heavier. And on top of that, they will also say, well, the government did this. Yeah, the government's going to do it anyway, right? But ultimately, if you didn't make the decision to strategize and to work through your stuff and work through your procrastination patterns, and then because that is, remember I said at the core, it's the system that's being glitched or blocked or stopped or in fear or avoiding, everything's coming from it. Everything, all the symptoms on the outward, like if I'm procrastinating, I'm not managing my finances well. If I'm procrastinating, I am blocking myself from stepping into an awesome opportunity. If I'm procrastinating, I am destroying my connection in my relationship because I'm trying to get it perfect, or I'm sabotaging it, or I'm avoiding in my relationship, or I'm blaming in my relationship, or I'm playing the victim, or I'm being too needy. All these things are coming from forms of procrastination. People don't understand what procrastination actually is. Perceived pain in the future or fear of repeating the past. Someone's in a relationship and they accuse someone, and then it ends up being a fight, and then they don't go and apologize, and then it just like, this like resentment festers. That relationship is on its way out, right? But you got to ask yourself the question, why did that person accuse but then never go and sit down and say sorry? Because that person, sometimes, not always the case, could be many reasons. Let's give you an example. That person, and I know this because I've coached thousands of people, and I've had personal, intimate conversations with people and heard their stories. Person says, I completely screwed up that relationship. Why'd you do it? I had the opportunity to sit and just be vulnerable with that person and say, I'm sorry, like I did this because this happened in the past when I was younger and I had a fear that you would abandon me. And here's what I needed at the time. Did you communicate that? No. Why not? I was so scared to be rejected by my partner. Oh, so instead you just like played angry and the victim and then your relationship expired. Yeah. Guys, that's just one example. That's procrastination. I didn't do it because I was in fear or I was emotionally scared or I didn't want to be rejected. That's a procrastination pattern. That's just relationships, just one example. You want to talk about business? You know how many people tell me their business ideas? I'm like, I don't care. Like, you can tell me your business ideas over and over and over again, but if you're not starting your business and doing something, it's not a business. It has no money coming in. It's not a business. Ideas are free. They're everywhere. Well, like, it's not a business if you don't have money coming in. People are so worried about, I need to get a logo, I need to get my taxes, I need to get my legal. It's like, that's not going to make it a business. Go and make some money first, and then you can go and get your taxes and your logo, because otherwise you're just sitting around with ideas in your head that don't turn into anything. Success loves speed. Money loves momentum. Okay. Success loves speed and money loves momentum. But if we are constantly procrastinating, nothing's moving. You want to strike while the iron is hot. You know how many investment opportunities come across the table all the time? It's good to know when to say no, of course. But if you procrastinated on doing something with a business and you could have brought an extra like 5 grand or 10 grand in, and that 5 grand or 10 grand, you could have bought maybe a crypto coin at like 1 cent per token, and it went up to like $10 a token, you would be a millionaire by now. But because you didn't have that extra 5 or 10 grand you could have put in because you procrastinated your business, you're not a millionaire. I see this stuff happen all the time. So you want to train your mind how to manage the patterns better. It's all emotional repatterning. That's what it is. It's not laziness. I'm not here to call out laziness because it doesn't exist. You're uninspired and you don't know how to manage your patterns. That's it. Right? So the things that you are inspired about, let's work that out. And then let's work out how to manage the patterns so you have a better strategy. The word strategy, if you really want to think about it like from a business sense, it actually just means how to know what to prioritize. That's what strategy is. It's sitting down and knowing what to prioritize in your life so that you can get better outcomes in your life. That's a strategy. That's it. But like, everyone will continue to emotionally be sucked into the vacuum of your procrastination patterns if you don't have strategies in play. And what I do is I teach you what to prioritize in your life. I show you where your blind spots are in Conquer Your Procrastination. That's the 7-day program. It's free, guys. 7-day free trial. You jump in and start doing it. You get a 31-day planner, and it's specifically customized to you, to your procrastination type. And you can print it out or you can fill it out. We have a fillable version on your computer, and you fill it in every day. And there's a priority list. I'll show you. Let me pull it up. But like, this is just one element of it. This is not even the whole thing, but this is something that I created for everybody. When you come into AweBliss, like, look, 31-day planner. This is for the obsessive idealist, right? So here's an example. Date, you just put in your schedule, whatever you feel like you need to put in there. You have your priorities for the day. You can tick them off and do whatever you need to do there. What you're grateful for. On a scale of 1 to 10, how you feeling at the end of the day? That's a great check-in for you to have. A little quote: perfection is not attainable, but we can go for good, great, and excellent. You have your affirmation, and always put because. And you want to add why this is true. What do you do and or implement in your life so your subconscious knows there's a game plan? It's not just a wish, because affirmations don't mean anything to your autonomic nervous system. If you just say, I have $1 billion in my bank account, and you have 10 cents. It actually weakens you when you say things like that. And it weakens you because you're lying to yourself. But when you actually have a game plan in place, you got something there on the back end of it, because this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm implementing, this is what I'm working on in AweBliss, this is what I'm doing with the accountability group, this is what I'm doing with Joe. That's where you start to shift those patterns. You strengthen and empower yourself. Self-reflection, journal your thoughts, feelings, ideas, and emotion at the end of the day. So each day you have like focuses and things like that, right? So I've created them for all the 6 different types. So when you come in, you'll be able to work through each one. Even if you like fill out a bit on each one, you're going to have reprogramming that starts to happen. I also have visualization audios that is specific to your procrastination type. So you can train your brain to repattern, to come back into balance. We call it recenter. So you recenter yourself. This is where you become very powerful. All your strength and power and momentum is coming from your center. That's your core. You know that core strength? When someone has core strength, they're very hard to move. You're not going to be rocked and distracted because you have core strength in your mind when you recenter and you learn how to reprogram these patterns. Okay. And the reason why this works, check it out. This is crazy with the subconscious. So you have been living in a certain pattern and it fires off on your neural pathways in your brain. Okay. And it's firing like this. There's all these little networks and they're all like firing away. Now, because you've been firing like this for so long in your life, you've all been procrastinating in very similar, like in your similar pattern for a long time. You might have had sort of alternate versions of it over time, depending on what you've gone through, but you've been firing away quite a lot based off your programs and the things you've been telling yourself. So when we come along and we create new patterning, which is repatterned, like through this process, through the visualization exercises, through all the workshops that I have on your specific type in AweBliss, and we have weekly calls and accountability groups, what happens is new neural pathways are firing off. The old ones don't fire like they used to because we're doing different things. Then what happens is that starts to atrophy and break down. It's like a muscle, use it or lose it. And then the new ones start firing off and they become strong. You literally start to become a different person because you start thinking differently. You're not rocked by the things you used to be rocked by. You show up with power and strength. You come with centeredness, right? Do we have any questions? I would love to know. Any questions here before I jump into the next part? Let's have a look. What do we have here? Harvesting our attention is the game. That's right, Kitty. Yep. IP. They want everybody's data. That's it. Okay. Yeah, so you guys are all sharing your different procrastination types. That's awesome. Procrastination creates problems. Oh my gosh, Robert, so many. That's why you want to be able to repattern. Like I honestly can say that so much success that has come into my life is because I've been able to learn how to repattern. Okay. This has happened with me. Every time I've stepped away from like repatterning and I've just got caught up in like whatever, just worldly things and bouncing around, I start to lose momentum. So coming back into repatterning and also having people around me too in my network that I can really grow with makes a massive difference. Okay, Stephen, what motivates you to help people like us? Man, honestly, what motivates me is, I've achieved a lot of success in my life. If you haven't heard, I created a website called addictedtosuccess.com 14 years ago. We reached over 367 million views worldwide on the website. I garnered a lot of attention from that. So I've been asked to speak at lots of events and conferences around the world. I've shared stages with people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins. I have a successful podcast with over 6 million downloads. People like Deepak Chopra, Matthew McConaughey, Simon Sinek, Gary Vaynerchuk, a lot of like big heavy hitters have jumped on that podcast. And, I got book deals that have been offered to me and I've been in documentary films with like Dalai Lama, Richard Branson, Jack Canfield, the Think and Grow Rich movie. I'm in there as well. And, for me, I can say all those things, but ultimately, I wanted to pull apart the mechanics. Like I'm a bit of a nerd, a bit of a geek when it comes to methodologies and strategies and things of that nature and tools. I love coaching. That's what's really at my heart is I love coaching people. And I think there are a lot of motivational speakers out there where they sort of parrot information. So they'll read a book and they'll be like, oh, this, and they'll say it. And one day you'll be like, oh, I read all this in a book once. They just sort of like remembered. It's memory, but they haven't lived it. And they haven't gone to like obsessively seek out how do humans work. And I am just like so obsessed with human behavior. I love it. And I've created hundreds of different coaching tools and frameworks and exercises. And I really wanted to extract the mechanics out of like what made me successful. And not just me, but other people that I've worked with, whether it's in documentary films or spoken on stages with, or just like hung out. Because a lot of these guys, I'd say not all, but maybe like half of them, I've had personal time with them as well, like hung out with them, had dinner and so on. And so I've got to know what makes really successful people tick. And I truly believe that success is a combination, and it's about getting the sequence right. And a lot of people just don't have the sequence. They're sort of, again, bouncing around like a pinball in a pinball machine. So if you can start to work out like, how does this game work? You don't have to play the matrix game that they're all trying to make you play. You can play differently. You can show up on the board in a different way. It's like you start to know how to play chess. And that's what makes me most excited, is I just love to see more people win. I hate seeing people taken advantage of. And right now, the governments of the world and a number of other influences in this world, whether you want to call it evil, which it is, and a number of other things that you want to call it, I hate seeing that win. I want to see us win, you know? And I do think that there's something in the human heart. We have a carnal nature. I think by instinct, we do have evil tendencies as well. And I think a lot of what people do when they are mismanaging their patterns is they tend to come from scarcity and lack, and they do evil things because they come from a place that is insecure. And so I want to teach people how to become secure, how to become centered, so they can make decisions that are actually better and from the heart. And, you know, I love seeing this. I love seeing the transformation that happens from somebody that thought that life could only go this way, and then they realize there's so much more to it that they can create while they're here. It's really rewarding for me to see that happen. So you got me all passionate now. Okay, well, how to have more energy instantly, like within a few minutes to change mood when you need it quick. Yeah, that's emotional fitness, man. That's learning how to manage your emotions. It depends on what your procrastination patterns are as well. There are different things that drive us depending on our type. Not sure what your type is. Boom, you might want to drop it in here. Stargazer, okay. Yeah, shiny objects. Yeah, the shiny object syndrome is like the thing that is one of the symptoms for a stargazer. But yeah, like the thing about like how to have more energy instantly, stargazers tend to come from a very creative place. So a lot of the time they're inspired, they think visually a lot, they have a lot of great ideas, but ultimately you need structure. If you don't have structure, then your ideas will just float off into the ether. So you want to have a way to ground yourself in strategy. And the stargazer too, what happens with the stargazer is they don't have a visual problem. They don't have like a problem with visions and big dreams. They have a struggle with implementing habits that they can stick to. So you want to focus on big habits rather than big goals, because big goals comes naturally for you, right? Big goals for a dreadhead can be really scary, but to a stargazer, they like live in it all day and they love it. They sort of daydream around it a lot. So as you can see, there's like different types, right? Obsessive idealists love big goals, but they overwhelm themselves by putting like 100 goals on a five, to-do list. Like they'll put hundreds of them and then they'll feel overwhelmed. This is called the Superman complex or the Wonder Woman complex, right? For the obsessive idealist. So as you can tell, guys, like I understand the types. Like this is what we're just here for an hour, like I want to go deeper with you all. I want to be able to coach you, because it's not just like a one and done. You're going to be able to shift a lot. But ultimately, I want you to come into the AweBliss Academy so we can spend more time together. All of the mentors that I work with, the successful people in this world, I spent more time with them. I didn't just like meet them in a one-off hour thing. I didn't, not even 2 hours. Like I hung out with them more frequently. And the more frequently I did, the more I felt supported, the more I worked through my patterns, and the more I was able to achieve more success in my life, right? I'm living out here in beautiful LA, California. Like I'm not stuck to a one place. I'm from Australia, Perth, Western Australia. I lived in Bali for 6 years, incredible villas, incredible lifestyle. I've moved out here. My wife and I are starting a family out here, and she has her family here. And like, we're like picking and choosing how we want to live our life. We just came back from Idaho, right? I flew from Idaho last night. It was like snowing there, and now it's sunny here. So we're like pick and choosing our seasons we want to live in, the experiences we want to have. You know, I got to speak on a stage a couple of days ago in Idaho as well. So like, I don't hold myself to having to be restricted by the government and restricted by, you know, everybody saying on social media, now's the time to be quiet. It's like, I'm gonna live my life the way I get to live, and I get to impact the way I get to impact. And I want that for you guys too. So I've put together the AweBliss Academy. It's been running for about 6 months now. We have an incredible group of people in there. We're continuing to grow it as well. Typically, my influential coach program, if you want to train to become a coach, that's $4,997 US to be a part of that, for 4 months of mentorship to be a certified influential coach. And so I wanted to make something that's affordable, where we still get to hang out and like grow together, and you get to really expand and create freedom in those different categories of life. So I've made something very different, which is $47 US per month. Okay, that's it, just $47 a month. You still get to jump on weekly with me, where we do live calls like this. You get to ask questions and you get mentorship. So what this means is, it means that you're going to learn to start repatterning your procrastination patterns. Okay. You're not only going to do that, you have access to the 31-day planner. You're going to have the visualization exercises you're going to learn through. We have 40 different workshops in AweBliss. And I have brought people in that teach crypto. I've got people in that teach money mindset and how to manage in this new economy. I've got people in there that are teaching how to master business. We have marketing experts and branding experts in there. We have some of the top coaches and speakers from around the world that are teaching mindset strategies in there, how to live more in your purpose. We have everything from like romance and relationships, some of the top relationship coaches that are teaching how to attract and date the right people for you, how to be able to grow in your relationship. We have a spiritual element for anybody that wants to deepen their relationship with God, some great theological teachings in there. You know, we have it all the different categories of life. My main vision and goal for this is to teach as many people how to become more free, so that you aren't trapped by the rigged reality in this world, right? This matrix, if you want to call it that. So you get to escape the matrix. And honestly, this is what I wish that I had, that existed for me, and it didn't back 14 years ago when I started coaching. I wish I had this. I had to learn along the way. I've spent more than 7 figures over 14 years in all sorts of things: retreats, events, one-on-one mentorship, traveling the world. I've traveled to 42 different countries. You know, I've learned so much personally from all these incredible people in the world. And you know, I've applied and spent so much time. Time is the most valuable thing. You'll never get it back again. Every second it goes by, it's gone in this world forever, right? Money comes and goes, right? But what you want to do is you want to build yourself up to the point where, like, and I always think about this, like, it's not valuable if you got to a place and you think you didn't have to do anything that even challenged you to get there. It's not valuable if you didn't actually invest in something and actually work alongside people to enjoy the journey to get there, right? Things don't magically happen. And a lot of people are sitting around wishing and hoping that they have certain dreams fulfilled or successes to happen in this world. And it's not happening, because it's not built off wishes. It's built off strategy and accountability and learning how to focus and having a clear game plan together, right? So my goal for you is to focus on 90-day blocks at a time. If you're coming into AweBliss and you join me, right, and I'm there to mentor you, then we're going to be focusing on 90-day blocks at a time, because it's the best way to operate. And I even break those 90 days down into 30-day blocks inside the 90-day. So you've always got that, like, cool, in 30 days, this is where I'm getting to. Okay, this 30 days, I'm getting to here. That's what you want to focus on. I understand this works the best because I work with people with their procrastination patterns all the time, right? So my goal for you at the end of the 90 days in AweBliss, in the academy, is for you to feel confident in yourself, okay? And honestly, it's like 10 to 15 minutes at most per day that you're going to put in. Probably only like 10 minutes. If you wanted to do a visualization exercise, it's going to be maybe like 15 to 20 minutes. You start your day with it. Okay, that's up to you. You get full support while you're in there. You're going to show up on the weekly calls with me. I'm bringing special guests in that are teaching different ways to build financial passive income streams, to be able to create more freedom in your life as well. This is going to allow you to escape the matrix, right? So in the first 30 days, you have a clear roadmap for your future, so that you're going to feel confident and that you can feel that financial freedom for you is possible, okay? In the second 30 days, we're going to work through ways that you can build more financial independence, so you can escape the matrix. Okay. And then the third one, I'm going to teach you how to be able to master those different categories of life so that you're going to start feeling freedom in every category. Okay. And this is what I say, everything's touching everything. Okay. So as the tide rises, so do the boats. And that's what we want. Your physical improves, your emotional improves, your spiritual improves, your mental. Like I said, you're going to be like a different, but your friends will be like, man, what are you doing right now that's working for you? How are you doing this in a 30-day period, in a 60-day, a 90-day period? That's what you want, right? In order to be able to build your resilience and to be able to pivot and have strength and centeredness. Okay. So I have the option for you. I'm going to just drop it here in the chat. Let me drop it in, and feel free to ask questions, guys. If you have any questions, just let me know. Again, it's a 7-day free trial. Then you continue on with me. You jump on the calls that we have once a week, as well, that are live calls like this, where we're on Zoom together, and you're going to connect with those in the group. You're going to have accountability in the group too, and have a WhatsApp group that we're a part of. A Telegram group that we're a part of, to be able to like connect and hold each other accountable. Okay, Giselle. Joel's calls the absolute best. Loved it when I did Conquer the Matrix. Thank you, Giselle. I appreciate you. Yeah, this is like next level beyond Conquer the Matrix as well. So you're learning like what we're talking about with procrastination patterns. That's like the micro, but as we grow in each category, you're going macro with this and growing even more. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys to be a part of this. I'm just going to pull this up here on the chat so you can jump in and be a part of it. So you just go to AweBliss.com/membership and jump in. I've made this available for you today. Okay. So just within the next 3 hours, again, don't procrastinate. Don't be one of those people that shows up to this call and say, yeah, Joe, I get it. And then you're in trouble in time because you haven't got onto this. Okay. I only want serious people in this. It's $47, guys. Come on. What is that? That's like what? 8 coffees in a month. 6, 7, 8 coffees in a month. And you can keep drinking your coffee, but that's not going to make a change for you. You might feel some like sort of like sense of more energy at times, or a bit of a boost and a kick. I like my coffee too. I don't have it every day, but I like it when I do have it. But I'm just putting this into contrast for you to really think about, where is your life going to be in 30 days from now? And are you going to be happy with it? If you continued the way that you are right now, even 90 days, like think about 90 days, that's only 3 months. That's it. In 90 days, do you want your life to be filled with way more of a powerful network? Because this is what people do. I see it all the time. They have scattered networks. You know what a scattered network is? It's weak. It's confusing. And the reason why I say this is because I know people that they'll go learn this little thing over here, and then they'll go join an event over there, and then they'll like hang out with these people over here, and then they'll go do that thing over there, and they might find, but the thing is, they're all talking different languages, and they're all like sort of sharing different things, and sometimes it conflicts. I was speaking at events here in America, and you'd have like 10 speakers on a stage, and like 2 of them would say, you should only invest 10% into the start of your business. And then another one will say, you have to throw everything on the line and put 100% of your chips on the table, put all your money in, get a credit card. And then you got people in the audience like, I don't get it. This is like really confusing. It happens all the time, right? And this is what happens when you listen to this podcast and you get that over there and this over here. And this is why I've created AweBliss too, to be able to create a hub spot where we have more of a cohesive teachings that are happening, so that you can come in and it like connects and makes sense. When I bring experts in, I tell them, I'm like, here's what we're focused on to come out of the matrix. Here's the type of things that I need you to like focus on breaking down, so that my people in here can actually understand and like apply it to this. And I'll show them so they know how to be able to teach. That way there's more synergy, there's more cohesiveness, right? A lot of people have scattered networks and they wonder why they're so conflicted, so confused. It's like a tug of war in their mind. This in turn brings you back into procrastination, right? I'm mindful of what makes people procrastinate. That's why I structured this so well. I truly believe that if you can jump in, even if you did 30 days, you're going to want to stay, right? And you can cancel at any time. You could come in for 30 days, just the 47. Or you could join for the year at a 42% discount, which is insane. And we're ending that tomorrow. So if you don't make a commitment by tomorrow, you won't be able to get that 42% discount on a year with us in AweBliss. Okay. But the reason why I have this in place, it's not like some special marketing tactic. I have this in place because I only want serious people in here. Because people that like want to like sit around and like hope for next time or a month from now, they're not going to show up and actually implement and make the changes anyway. And I don't want people like that in this group. Right? This is I've made it affordable, but it's premium in the people that show up. And that is the energy that you are going to come into when you know that I've properly filtered and made sure that we have the right people in this group. That is more powerful than anything. Because when you come in and you can have the chance to have accountability from people that are champions, that are ready to show up, even though everybody procrastinates and has their little patterns and things that they're challenged with, when you have someone that comes in with the attitude of excellence, like, hey, I'm ready, man. I'm ready for the next 30, 60, 90 days. You might, like, we have people that are still staying on that have been a part of it for the last 6 months. They're still in the group. They're still on the live calls. They jump in every week. They love it. They're like, their life has gone like this since they've been a part of AweBliss. And you can have a look at all the testimonials. Go to awebliss.com/membership, scroll down, you'll see all the testimonials. When you did the procrastination quiz, you saw what we had on the page there too. But again, this is only available for you over the next few hours to jump in on this, okay? And then we're removing the 7-day free trial tomorrow. So please jump in, make a decision like now, get into it, and I'll see you in the group. And do we have any questions, guys? Any questions? I can even show you inside if you want to have a look. Let's do that. Drop your questions in if you have any. Which procrastination type were you and how did you get through it? Stephen, I was an obsessive idealist. I originally wanted to work on my own stuff. And so I put a whole program together to coach people that were like me, because I attracted a lot of people that were like me in my social media following that would jump into my programs, a lot of high achievers and perfectionists. And so I started working on my own, and then I started sharing with others. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, as I'm like categorizing the traits, I realized there was 5 others. And so I started to develop the whole system. Then we created the quiz from there. People then jumped on the quiz, and then we just kept testing. I've been testing the quiz for 8 years now. I've been doing them in live events, like on stage. People are taking the quiz in the audience. I'm interacting with people. My clients, all of my clients go through it. All of my coaches that graduate through my certification program run their clients through the quiz as well to find out their types and help repattern as well. So I know it works. Like we've tested it like more than 7,000 times, like 7,600 or whatever the last time we calculated where we were at, and we'll get amazing results because of it, right? Let's have a look. If we do the 7-day free trial, do we still have access of 42% discount right after, or we have to jump in? So you commit to like here's how it works. You can cancel before the 7 days. Why you would do that, I have no idea why. Sometimes people just do that because they just get caught up in life stuff and they forget everything they learned here. And they just don't understand the importance of shifting, right, and transforming. But if you canceled it before the 7 days, your card won't be charged. That's it. Full transparency. 7-day free trial. That's how much I believe in it. That's why we put up the 7-day free trial. I'm like, come in and have a taste of it and see what's going down. Sonia, this has been so insightful and confirmed a lot of the traits I display in the inner work that I need to do. Thank you, Joel. Awesome. Thank you, Sonia. Is there an accountability system? Devin, yes. Thank you, man. Great question. Yes, we have a Telegram group where everybody in the group can jump in and connect with each other. What we do have sometimes, some people will like buddy up, so they'll connect with someone and they'll like hold each other accountable. Again, you have that 31-day planner, and we do check-ins to see how you're going with your planners. Or the planner has been able to create a lot of shifts because it's about repatterning, right? So the way that the subconscious mind works, there's 2 ways to transform the patterns in your mind. One is if you have a really big emotional, overwhelming experience, like a car accident or something like traumatic happens, or something really exciting happens, and you anchor in and go boom, and you like it changes the patterns in your brain because it's like, wow, that's so important. Let's anchor it, right? Your brain's like, that's a heightened experience. People create phobias and fears as well from that place too. The other way that your subconscious works is repeatedly with consistency, hammering to forge in, because I believe we're not hardwired, we're soft wired. We have neuroplasticity, which means our brain can actually change. Our neural pathways and our synapses can prune, which is really cool. That's great news. And this is like science. Like, this is legit. This is being studied, and there's so much evidence for it. And I know it to be true in my own life as well. So yeah, you consistently show up with it, and that's why the accountability is so important, Devin. So I appreciate you asking about that. And it's there. It's available for anybody that wants to jump in, and important stuff in AweBliss. So if you go 7 days in, you'll notice like you actually start to shift emotionally when you're repatterning. You start to feel emotional shift in the sense that the charge around your stories and your wounds starts to lessen. So you start to feel a different emotional experience around like times where you would have procrastinated. You were like, oh, I don't feel as overwhelmed as I did. Once you get to 21 days, that's where you actually start to notice your thoughts are changing a lot. And then 31 days is where you start to like instinctually, naturally, organically start to show up a lot differently in your physicality as you're like showing up with more like vigor and more focus as well. That's why I created 31 days. And you can continue to fill out the 31 days for years if you want. You just keep using it for each month. And then we're planning to put it together as a whole year planner. You could print that out or run that as well if you want. But most people just do 31 days at a time. That's the best way to work. Okay. Frederici, good to see you in. I'm in. Where can I find the quiz in the planner? Cool. So the quiz, thank you, Giselle. Amazing. You dropped it in there. I appreciate you. And the planner, when you go into AweBliss, I haven't even pulled it up, but some people are ready to jump in. That's cool. So inside AweBliss, what you'll find is you'll see that we have, you can watch the welcome video and like the journey begins here, and you can sort of just work out what are the top workshops. Conquer Procrastination is a training that we have. And then what you see here is within Conquer Procrastination, you have the different types. So for example, like we have the Dreadhead, right? So with the Dreadhead, I have workshop trainings and teachings that I've run, which are going to help you to reprogram, repattern your type. Okay. And we have like even some visual things I've drawn up as well to teach you. And then if you have a look here, you'll see the 31-day planner. You have the printable version and you have the fillable version. You just click on that, download it, and you work through it. And we'll continue to add workshops here, but these are the most important workshops that I run my clients through. My clients are paying more than $1,200 to $1,500 per 90-minute session to coach with me. And you're learning a lot of the ones like, because I only have a certain amount of bandwidth, right? My goal is to train more people to repattern than for me to have to sit for 90 minutes at a time with each person. So you're able to get so much value that you would usually have to pay, $1,500 per session for. Okay. Tanisha, great to see you in. Kitty's in. Who else is jumping in? I have a lot of people here that are super excited. I'm really excited to see you all in here and to see you on the call as well. We're going to be kicking off our live call. Sweet. Frederica, awesome. Cool. Any other questions before we jump out? If you have any questions, you can even unmute yourself if you want. You can drop it in the chat. I just want to make sure you all have the info that you need to be able to jump in. You got nothing to lose, guys. 7-day free trial. Like, let me show you how we do this. Right? Jump in and then show up on the live call. We're going to go even deeper together. Noelle's in here too. She's one of my coaches that had graduated as an influential coach. She knows like the tools that we go into are insane. The training and support. I've been coaching for 14 years. I've worked with over 11,000 people worldwide through summits, masterclasses, live stage events, retreats in like Bali, Marrakesh, Morocco, America, Australia. None of this is like new to me when it comes to breakthrough coaching, working on somatic work, childhood trauma, cognitive behavioral therapy, Psych K, what else? Acceptance and commitment therapy. I've worked through so many different modalities in coaching, and you'll see like when we're doing live calls, I pull some of those out and coach you guys through it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We are also eventually holding an AweBliss event as well. So those that are members will be able to come in and get priority seats as well for the events that we do around the world. So I'm excited to do that. We're going to kick off a retreat in the next 6 months. We're looking at doing an intimate based 15 to 20 people retreat. So anybody that's in AweBliss will get early access to that to get priority tickets. And then we open it up for the rest of the public. But I ideally would like to work with those that are closest to me. And this is where you have massive shifts by actually working in person even more as well. So a lot of really awesome things for you guys to look forward to. Stephen, what are the benefits of being a qualified coach that you train? Do we now work with for you? Yeah, a lot of the coaches that have graduated from Influential Coach, that program is different. That's $4,997 US for that. And the next one kicks off in the start of January. We usually take on 25 people at a time and certify coaches through that program. The benefits of working with me is, you're going to learn how to actually do transformational coaching, which a lot of people out there, like I said, are like sort of motivational speakers. They're not actually coaches. So coaches understand how to ask questions, how to ask the right questions. They understand like what's happening on a deeper level. So they learn how to understand the subconscious programs. They know how to work through wounds and trauma from the past. They work on childhood blueprints. They do shadow work. They're able to navigate their clients to a point from not knowing what's going on emotionally to actually having clear evidence in reality as to what has happened in the past that's affected their present, and having tools to be able to overcome it and to stop it from continuing again, right? And that's a proper coach. Like I teach my coaches the tools that they can use, like we have, we've done live breakthrough coaching on stage. Have you ever seen Tony Robbins, where he's standing on stage, you pull somebody up and he's like coaching them live on the spot? That's what I've been doing. Out of my 14 years of coaching, I've been doing live breakthrough coaching for about 8 years now. Live on stage in front of hundreds to thousands of people. Like that's when you're really in the trenches. If you can stand on stage and do breakthrough in front of all these people watching you and get results live on the spot. Like when you have a guy that tells you that he's cheated on his wife and he's like falling on his face, or somebody that's told a whole room of people that they were like raped when they were younger, or that they are suicidal. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to learn to get to that point unless you wanted to go that deep into it and do therapy-based coaching. But I utilize the tools and the breakthrough methods to be able to work through transformational coaching on the spot with really hardcore things like that. So if you want to learn how to be a proper coach, like in live environments where you can actually like breakthrough coach in retreats and events, that's what I teach. We do basic, intermediate to advanced. So you go through a journey of learning from the ground up. It doesn't matter if you're starting from scratch. As a matter of fact, a lot of coaches that I teach that start from scratch, they do even better because they don't have all these things they have to unlearn. They just learn how to do it properly from the start. So a lot to look forward to. Some of my coaches may go on to like speaking at events or retreats with me, in the sense that I like get them to jump on to an event or retreat. We have had some coaches in the past that have done that. Some of my top coaches I refer clients to, especially if my bandwidth is full or I've got other things happening, or my coaches specialize in something. Maybe one's like a health coach, another one's like a marriage coach. I might just say, cool, go to this person, and I refer them over. So that's another benefit. Some of them end up jumping on my podcast, or I jump on their programs or featuring their things. There's a lot of different, options. I connect them with people in my network so that they can grow their career as well. There's a lot there, but it's show and prove too. Like if you're not showing up as the coach, so you won't get the benefits of the connections that I have. So anyway, appreciate you guys. If you got any other questions, you can ask. I'm just really happy to see that many of you are ready to jump in and make this commitment. Let's conquer this matrix. Let's get out of this stuck space. Let's build something in your life that's going to create more freedom so that you don't feel trapped and just like, like a feather in the wind. Like this is how many people right now are like a feather in the wind. Look on social media, like everyone's so reactive. Everyone's so like affected by everything. And there's terrible things happening in the world. Hand on heart. My heart goes out to those that are struggling right now. I've had some really raw conversations and talk with many people that have experienced this. And I do feel like, got to ask yourself this question, like if this chaos continues, like how drawn are you going to be into all the chaos, and like how unfocused are you going to be? How distracted are you going to be? Right. So it's always better to have like a group and a team that you can like jam with. And that's one of the reasons why our retention rate is so high in AweBliss. We're at like 92% retention. 94% retention, because everyone is like super excited to continue connecting each week on the calls. And like some might not be able to jump on every week because they might have things show up, but most people are jumping on each week to be a part of it and to like hang out together, because every time they do, they continue to stay in momentum. Okay. And that's what you want. Christina, Acapulco isn't, yeah, it's happening everywhere. So yeah, we want to be grounded, centered in momentum, in creation, not destruction. When you're stuck in procrastination patterns, you don't have a strong network. Again, you're broken, busted. You're frustrated. You're stressed. You're dictated by your moods, and you don't create what you want to create in your life. Okay, so let's start creating something new. Let's go. All right. Big love, guys. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you all, and I'll see you in AweBliss. All right. See you there. Ciao, ciao.